This episode of Truth in This Art is a special edition, a partnership with the fine folks at 410 Lofts. 410 Lofts is a mixed-use housing community in the heart of the Bromo Tower Arts and Entertainment District. I'll be speaking with some of the creatives that reside in 410 Lofts. So for more information, please visit 410lofts.com. And now, on to your podcast. Welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today, I have the privilege of interviewing a designer, art director, performance artist who fuses together imagery, wearable art, and music to present inventive productions. Please welcome Velvet.
Hi.
Thanks for coming into the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So as I was saying when we got started, I see some of your items in and around my girlfriend's place. So
Nice.
This is going to make me look classy. So hopefully I don't mess this interview up.
No, you're doing great already.
Thank you. You're too kind. So for those who are not familiar with your work, can you tell us more about your art and mediums that you prefer to work within and how you come up with your concepts and ideas? I know that's a really long question.
Yeah. Okay, let's break it down.
Yeah, let's break it down. Part one.
Yeah.
So for those who aren't familiar, so tell us more about your art and like what mediums you like to work within.
Yeah. So, I mean, my art is, I always describe it as evolutionary, and I describe myself as a transmogrifier because I feel that my art is just representative of who I am in whatever particular moment of my life I'm in at that moment. And so I like to portray that through my art. A lot of the work that I have been doing has been around evolution through love and transformation through healing, which I think a lot of us are in that process right now, coming out of COVID and just feeling like, we were distanced from each other. There's a need for healing within community, and so right now that's where my art is focused. And I love doing installations that kind of like fuse in live music and, like you said, performance art, dance, paint, body paint. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the things that I use, I scrap a lot. So sometimes I go to construction sites and, I might see something I like and pull it,
Oh, this is mine now.
This is mine now. So I use a lot of mediums. It really just depends on what I'm creating in the moment. If I'm designing clothes, it could, I'm working on a few different collections, but for example, my fairy collection, I'm using a lot of tulle and sheer fabrics, but then for my avatar collection, you'll see a lot of vinyl or vinyl and just harder fabrics that are representative of more of a futuristic and I tend to
No, you're good.
So representative of like more of a futuristic world. And then like my nothingness collection, I'm using actually do you know those like tarps that they use when you're moving? I think they're called moving blankets, but that's like the main theme of that collection. I'm using those because I feel like with nothingness, I want to really portray the idea of being like weighed down or like into the void and what that looks like both on the dark side and the light side. It really just depends, but I like to source from everywhere.
I love it. So let's talk about the community. Let's talk about that because I think one of the themes that I hear a lot in Baltimore is we're various communities in one larger community, right? Mm-hmm. So how can art bring the community together, and how does art and change intersect?
Yeah, so I think with community, it's interesting, right? Because, we tend to separate based off of who we most relate to, yes. Which also is limiting in some way because we're limiting ourselves to perspectives and experiences and even just getting to know different people who might have something to offer to just how we think. And so, I've always liked to look at community as just in general, for me, people who are in the African diaspora, but in thinking of that, and I will say, like, at my last installation, that kind of also changed my perspective, because a lot of white people came to my installation, and even in that, you know, they were participating by being there. And so in that participation, they're getting to know who I am and what things I'm going through in, you know, my waking life. And that is community as well, because they having to interact with my art was them learning something from my experience. And so, like, I'm learning to look at community as in a broader sense, because I don't want us to limit ourselves with just feeling like, or staying where we're comfortable, but more so branching out and being open to literally the change. And I think a lot of us, like, right now, right, there's obviously, well, just honestly, for years it's been going on, but, you know, Black people getting killed, sex trafficked, you know, things like that. And it's going to take not just Black people standing up for us, but it's going to take, you know, white communities as well standing up for us. And I feel like that healing is going to come from everyone coming together. So right now, community to me is that wider spectrum of people and who we are as just like humans. And I'm hoping that we can all see that soon and change, and so that we can coexist in a way that allows us to all be our individual selves and be our best selves and highest selves all together. So, yeah. I hope I didn't ramble.
No. You're a deep thinker. I love it.
Okay.
So let's talk about African American art.
Yeah.
Should African American art still be referred to as African American art? And in that same respect, like, I'm gonna go off script a little bit here. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a little sneak dissing when it comes to, it's like, that's African American art.
I don't
right
like
there.
that.
So does it receive the respect that it deserves?
I mean, no. That's like the easy answer.
I love it. It's like, no. I said what I said.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that, one, you know, just like this classification of, it's something that honestly is a huge part of why I do what I do, because I really want to take away from this idea of, like, boxing, you know, anyone in any category of anything, because honestly, like, yes, our art informs a certain way of being and living, and is informed by history, et cetera. But, you know, you don't go and say, like, oh, you might say this is Japanese art, right? But, like, there's less of a categorization when you go to these galleries and you see, like, different artists. They don't categorize them as African American artists. They might just say, oh, this particular artist did this and this particular artist did that. Yeah. And I think it takes away from the respect, one. It takes away from being able to see where the artist might be coming from, their perspective, because you're looking at it through a lens of, like, literally the box that you think it fits inside of. But yeah, so I mean, I am not a fan of the term African American art. Not to say that I don't support it for those who do choose to resonate with that. I just think that it would be nice for us to move away from just a categorization and just really seeing, like, art for what it is. And that's pure creation, you know?
Love it. Yeah, I think it's almost like, this is a weird example, but it's almost like when someone does the taste test between, like, Pepsi and Coke. Yeah. It's like no label on there. Which one is it? Yeah. And do you like it? So I think if someone attaches some label to something, then your biases are baked in.
Yeah.
And I think whoever the artist is, their experiences are baked in, whether they're Mexican American, whether African American, whatever the case is, their experiences are baked in naturally. And that kind of goes back to, I think you were saying earlier, with just that kind of that intersection and leading to change. Like, if you're interested in what someone does, if they're a black person, they're black whoever, or whatever their background is, their experiences are baked into their art. So, but if you're kind of spoon feeding them already, like, oh, well, this is this type of art, then you're going to come in with a bias instead of just appreciating it and then maybe learning and having discourse and conversation around it.
Absolutely. And you see that like in the larger industry as well. You know, just like this separation, it took the longest time for black models to even be on the runway, you know, or be considered as beautiful. And it was, when it was a black model, it was a certain type of black model. You had to have European features or, you know, so it's across the board where it's just this, this like lack of appreciation for true form. And that sucks. So which
even kind of in some ways goes against some of those kind of, maybe they're more Mediterranean, but some of those like European ideals of like the sculptures and stuff. It's like they were imperfect.
Yeah.
So what is this body type you're looking for? What is this?
Well, you know.
Well, everything's fake.
Yeah.
So what has your experience been as a black person in the art world? I think we were already touching on that a little bit. But how has it changed maybe since you've started? So
I would just say, like, I paved my own way. You know, I really didn't care about
Love it.
what people thought or
talk that talk.
Yeah. It's just like, you know what, I'm going to do this because this is what I want to do, and like, you know, nobody can tell me no unless I allow them to. And I mean, I'd say more so speaking to being a woman, because a black woman trying to do, you know, like what I do is like really hard sometimes to push through like the masculinity and like patriarchal like dynamic of like how systems are set up, especially in the entertainment and industry and fashion and all that. Like it's a lot of like exploitation and if you're a woman, it's like, well, we can see if you're good if you can do this first. And like, I mean, I would say that's been more of a barrier than me being black, because for me, you know, blackness, I'm black to my core. And so it's just like, you know, you can't tell me that I can't come into spaces and be unapologetic about who I am. And yeah, like, I don't know. I guess I just never let anybody tell me no. They tried, but
I love it. I love it. It's one of those things where you encounter it when people are carving their own path, making their own lane. You have just unremarkable people just telling you like, well, you should maybe just stick to this.
Yeah.
How about you stick to yourself? Like, you know, if you're able to do music, fashion, all of these different things, and then if you're good at all of them, then why does it matter? Why you care?
Yeah.
And that's like, I used to look at, and it's not the same, obviously, but I used to look at what I'm doing as a podcaster, and I've been doing it for 13 years. Wow. Some of the stuff I used to hear, oh, you just record in your mom's basement. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Wow.
It's really funny how that works.
It is funny how it works, yeah. Because honestly, like, I mean, even before Pierre Moss, like, are you familiar with Pierre Moss? Well, Kirby is like he's a black designer in New York, and you know, he started doing fashion shows with all black models, et cetera. But you know, that was something I was doing for years. Like, but it's like when it comes out in a way, it's like, oh, this person is popular and they're doing this popularized thing, and now it's time to uplift black people. So now this person can be popular for what they do, and this person falls into that category too. Like, and it devalues, like, you know, the work that has been being put in, at the lower level, I would say, or just the underground level of artists, because I feel like a lot of artists in the underground scene were pushing the resurgence of the industry in a sense, and that's why it changed. And then the industry responded, because that's how it goes. Like we artists, we push change, and then the world responds and makes it look like they did the change.
Yeah, we were on the cusp. We were on the edge of things.
Yeah.
You weren't. I assure you were not.
You were not.
And it happens. It's so reactionary. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
No, it's not. That's not how that works. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about Catalyst and 100% cacao. I had to say it like cacao. Yeah. I like saying it like that.
I'm glad you said it right. Some people do not say it right.
Cocoa.
Yeah, I'm like, can you read?
Like when it's like, can I have a taco? That's not how you say that.
Not how you say it.
Not at all.
Yeah, okay. So Catalyst was my very first project. Which, wow, because I feel like you did your research. But, okay. Catalyst was my very first project. I had just graduated from GW. And I knew that I didn't want to actually do anything with my degree in journalism and mass communication. But, in a way I did. But it's still just like, I was like, I want to make things and I want to do art. And at the time, I was kind of involved with a friend who was reading Sheryl Sandberg's book on, like, it's called Lean In, but it's basically like how women can break the glass ceiling, and like women's association within roles that they're not normally given or put into. And then Street Etiquette, which I don't know if you're familiar with Street Etiquette, but they were a group in New York, Joshua Kissy and I can't remember the guy who worked with him, but they did things for Black men. So they did this series that was collegiate Black men on campus in New York, and they were like dressed in different ways. They had like a political scene, things like that. And so I took those two concepts and I was like, you know what, like, I want to showcase Black women. Like, I feel like, we often get very little recognition for the things we do, and like Black women are very crucial to, honestly, like change in general, especially in communities, in Black communities. And so I wanted to showcase women I was familiar with, who were doing things that in their communities, changing perspectives, bringing forth their art, being bold about it. So I chose, I think, 16 women, and each of them did something in their own right, but I did choose like specific topics. So I did like CEOs and artists. I did like presidential election type scene. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of just portray Black women in roles that they're not normally associated with or may not feel bold going into, and give them that confidence through the imagery that was portrayed through the shots. So I styled all the women. We crashed Georgetown University. They told us we couldn't do it there, and I was just like, fuck you. So we went anyway. They were having homecoming that weekend, so it was actually perfect because everybody was at the game. And so we like took over one of the classrooms down in like this building, so nobody bothered us. I think till the end.
You play by your own rules. Like, this is gonna happen. I'm just letting you know.
Literally. So you can be with it or not, but and then 100% Cacao is a larger project that I feel is going to be the child of AfroVelvet.
Okay.
But 100% Cacao was birthed as a way initially just to have a production that was, fully Black, and models, designers, behind the stage people, the lighting people, the makeup artists, everybody who's a part of it is brown, Black. And the first time I did it inside of a Black-owned boutique, and I just styled the models based off of some themes that I had. But then I was like, well, I want to design clothes, and I actually see this as a bigger vision in storytelling. I grew up in theater, and so I've always wanted to incorporate like music and theater, and I grew up in church as well. So just thinking about how I could incorporate all of those things into one and tell a story of how, we have transformed and how we will be transforming into the future. That was what 100% Cacao was initially birthed to do. And in the future, I really see it changing, not just fashion, but media, because I also am doing films that go with each collection. And so I want, Black and brown babies to be able to look and see themselves in these alter forms, not just this, trend-based form, beauty and standards that really are just cringy to me. But I really want, us to embrace our individuality, our imagination, and, like who we are to the core. And so that's what 100% Cacao is all about, is going back to the core. Chocolate is derived from cacao, and the cacao seed is in Africa. And so really just back to the seed. Yeah.
I admire that. The rapid fire questions, they don't require any context. It's like, it is what it is.
Okay.
Favorite wearable to produce?
Sustainable.
Favorite art city? Like, city has a reputation for being like big in an art scene.
I've never been, but Tokyo.
Well, me neither, and I want to go.
I'm going, though.
Favorite color to work with? As I see various colors right here in front of me. Favorite color to work with? You got to say what that you got going on right now.
Okay. Oh, my God.
Put you on the spot. Oh, no.
Can I just say neon?
Sure.
Okay. Neon.
No cheating, but go on. Hidden talent. Because you do a lot. You do a lot, and we can't really cover all of it in this podcast.
Yeah.
But what's that hidden talent that not too many people know, except for people that are really close to you, know that you're I get real busy in the kitchen, or whatever the thing is. I don't know what it is.
Well, I'd say roller skating.
That's a talent.
Yeah.
I can't roller skate. Lastly, the hashtag that best describes you.
Hashtag.
Hashtag COVID.
Yeah, I was going to say hashtag AfroVelvet.
I love it. Yeah. So lastly, where can they check you out on social media? Where can they find you?
Yeah.
Website, all of that good stuff. Please share.
Yes. Okay. So my website is under construction, but it still can be found at AfroVelvet.com. And you can find me on Instagram at AfroVelvet, Twitter as AfroVelvet. You can find my music on all streaming platforms under AfroVelvet, and also on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. And I think that is it. You guys cannot know my Tumblr. And don't go look. Okay.
So for the super talented and entertaining, this has been entertaining, AfroVelvet, I am Rob Lee, saying that there's art in and around Baltimore. You just got to look for it.